There you go.
Hey, this is Committed to Greatness podcast. This is your host, CJ, Mr. Fit Biz Wiggins, and I'm reporting from Las Vegas, Nevada, Body Sport Fitness. This is my gym here. You can see I'm actually in the gym. See people back there training hard. And my co-host over there, what's your name?
Hi, this is Shelly. I'm here from
Shelly,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Okay, and today we will have a special guest on, Chad Shaw from Wisconsin,
Yeah.
Madison, Wisconsin. This guy, I talked to him the other day, and about Shed a Tear. Just listening to his story is inspirational. Our podcast is definitely, I think, reaching a lot of people that's overcoming struggles and people that want to get motivated by other people and hear other people's story. Chad has a real compelling story.
It's amazing.
Right, Shelly? Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
When I read some of the things about Chad on his website and on Body Space, that's where I actually met you guys at, Shelly and Kim.
Right.
Kim, other co-host, she's going to be on with Chad actually in the gym she works at, and she had the privilege to meet Chad in there, and he's a very, very, very inspirational guy to her, she said. And as soon as I talked to him, I was really, can't even explain how breathtaking his story was and how it pushes me to go further, because there's always somebody out there that, it's always maybe worse off than you or
Right.
going through
They've worked
more things
harder.
than you.
They've just had to work harder. Yeah.
Yes. And I think, one of the good things about having a person like Chad on, the people out there that, not only in, fitness and exercise, but just everyday life, people going through different things, going through struggles, you're able to overcome these things and keep pushing. So, because you have stuff in the past that, may affect what you're doing now. And just hearing other people share their story, really motivate, and can inspire you. And it definitely inspired me. I have a story too. I know everybody have their own story, but it's definitely interesting to hear, this guy's story. I don't want to say too much, but just to give you a quick overview of things that, Chad suffered with when he was born prematurely. He had asthma.
Not like everyday asthma, like in and out of the hospital asthma.
Yeah. Out of the hospital. His leg, did you hear about his leg? He told his leg was...
My cousin actually had that. She had to have one of her legs stretched, and it was excruciating. They put pins in and put her on a stretcher and stretched the bone.
I can imagine, how hard, and, he was not able to participate in everyday, exercise like other kids did.
Right.
So, and that's just the beginning of the story, but they're on now. All right, Kim, are you there?
I'm here. How are you, CJ? Hi, Shelly.
Hi.
We're good. We were just...
Hey, CJ.
Hey, how's it going over there?
Good. How are you doing? Hi, Shelly.
Hi.
Doing pretty good. We were just talking about you, your story, when you were younger, and the things you had to overcome to get where you're at now. Definitely inspiring. So when I was talking to you on the phone, I got, a little teary-eyed, and it definitely was inspiration to me to hear somebody just talk about their story and how they're overcoming. And recently, you told me some things that you went through, but just to kind of break the ice and let people out there know a little bit more about you and yourself. Can you kind of give us a rundown where you're from and your age and everything?
Sure, absolutely. First off, thank you very much for having me on your program. It's truly an honor. But my background, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm currently 40 years old, just turned 40. Uh, my, as I told you when I talked to you on the phone, my health history is somewhat extensive. It's sometimes difficult for me to get into with people because it's so extensive when I try to bring it all together and paint the entire picture. I feel like the whole picture gets blurry because there's so many aspects of it. But so I'm going to try to sum it up in a nutshell and not have it get too blurry.
Yeah, understand.
But basically, I was born with severe asthma. I had really severe asthma and allergies. So throughout my childhood, elementary school and middle school, a great deal of that time was spent in doctors' offices and hospitals, in the ICU. I never had a normal childhood. My asthma was so severe I wasn't able to participate in Phy-Ed class on a regular basis. Maybe 1/3 of the time I could do some things in Phy-Ed class, but more often than not I had to kind of sit out. My asthma was allergy-induced, exercise-induced, cold-induced, which living in Wisconsin wasn't a good thing. But it was severe. I always had to have inhalers on me. I constantly had to take multiple medications, several different inhalers, oral bronchodilators, corticosteroids like prednisone, other medications to kind of keep me open. My parents had to learn how to give shots. They had to take a crash course, learn how to give shots. They had to practice on oranges and fruit. And then they eventually started giving me the shots of suspirin and epinephrine, and which were injectable drugs that had a powerful anti-allergic reaction effect and open up my airways. So when the inhalers and other medications didn't work, these shots would keep me open long enough to get to the hospital. And then in the hospital, I'd get more extensive treatment, more drugs, generally end up in intensive care. Because anytime there was an asthma attack, it would always lead to an infection in the lungs. My lungs would fill up with infection. I couldn't breathe, and it was that scene. It was like a nightmare, recurring nightmare that happened over and over and over again. And any number of things could set it off. I mean, it could be something as simple as somebody lighting up a cigarette next to me and the smoke getting in my face. That could cause an allergic reaction. That would, it would progress into an asthma attack, and then that asthma attack would result in instant infection in the lungs, and that could put me in the hospital for weeks or even months. So it was that touchy, it was that sensitive.
Wow.
So that I began working out. I got into exercise and weight training when I was 11 years old, and it was brutally difficult. I always wanted to become an athlete. I had two older brothers. One was 7 years older than me. The other one was 10 years older than me. And they were your typical jocks. In high school, they were captain of the wrestling team, their football team, all that good stuff. And then there's me. I was like a little shriveled up, sickly kid that couldn't do anything. I'd go outside and try to run. I'd get halfway across the yard and start wheezing and have to stop. I couldn't do much. But I always wanted to do better, and so it was very frustrating. But I kept going to the gym. I started off doing a lot of body weight exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, swimming to try to increase my aerobic capacity. I always had to have inhalers on me every time I tried to exercise, and it was ugly every single time. it just, I'd go on the first few times to try to exercise, and I might last 3 minutes before I had to stop. And the next day, maybe 3 minutes. Maybe the following week I could last 4 or 5 minutes. The week after that, I could last maybe 10 minutes before I had to stop, and it just kept progressing. It was a very slow and gradual progression, and it was very difficult, but I was seeing progress. So that the progress that I saw for me kept me encouraged to keep going, and I wanted to see just how far I could go. So by the time I was about 14, the asthma was pretty much under control, which which was wonderful and fascinating. But at that same time, I experienced a whole new onslaught of other health conditions.
So I got a question. So,
Yes.
all of that you went through, how did you gain your strength? How did you make it through all that, all of, I just can't imagine being a kid that's going through all these problems but still able to go. So how did you gain your strength? Family, friends, mom and dad?
I would have to thank my mom and dad for the most part. That they're probably the most powerful influence on me in that respect, because they always taught me from early on that through God, all things are possible. And they always taught me the power of faith. And if you had faith in something and believed in it with all your heart and kept trusting in that faith, eventually God would listen and God would give you the answer that you wanted. So no matter how bad things got, no matter how dark my circumstances were, I always believed that it would get better.
Yeah, it's man, because I could just imagine, myself, I was an overweight kid, and I dealt with, struggles with losing weight and sometimes getting picked on. So it was definitely, it was hard for me. But just listening to your story, it's like, okay, now I see someone else that is that went through more struggles than me. And, so I didn't have it too bad, There's always somebody out there, is worse off than
yeah, we all face our own struggles, and it's it can be a tough thing. I at the same, as bad as what things were that I went through, on the same token, I'd see other kids my age, and I'd thank God that I had more advantages than they did. Yes, I can't do much, but I can walk. I'd see other kids in wheelchairs, other kids that, at the YMCA where I worked out when I was a kid and swimming. There were kids that, were amputees. They didn't have arms or legs, and it kind of put things into perspective for me. The times I feel sorry for myself, I'd look at them and I think, oh, thank God, I have the blessings that I do and can do what I do.
Yeah. We wanted to basically, my whole idea was to start this to get people that went through stuff, committed to greatness. Is like, you commit yourself to something and you set your mind on, the goal, but you don't let all the other stuff stop you. And I really, wanted to get people on the show like yourself that went through some things, that went through some obstacles and still going through some things, but you're still, able to push. And you definitely are motivation to me, and the two ladies on here, Kim and Shelly, is motivating me because I don't have a immediate family like kids or wife or anything, and I'm basically out here by myself. But the thing is, when I see strong women or people that's able to overcome things, then it makes me even stronger. Because I'm like, okay, all I gotta do is worry about myself. But it's like when you have family, like I have my sisters and my mom and my dad, but it's even more when you're able to push through struggles that you have with your immediate family or even with yourself. Because if you're not in great shape, as we know, then the people around you is affected. So the better you are, the better the people around you. And definitely your story as I keep saying again, is definitely an inspiration to me. And I definitely appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I appreciate you asking me to come on, allowing me to be on and talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
I've known Chad here at the gym for quite a few years, and he's been a huge influence to myself. And I've been able to pick his brain over the years, and he's been more than generous to help and answer questions that I've had, and never ever thought twice about answering any of my questions, which has always been very helpful to me and very appreciated. So thank you.
Well, you always followed my advice, so I mean that was a breath of fresh air for me, because most people won't ask for advice to them, and then polar opposite.
Which was a question of mine. Actually, Chad, was how do you feel when people ask for your advice and they don't always take it?
Yeah.
That does happen a lot.
I'm not going to lie, it makes me a little bit gun shy answering questions, because especially when they catch me at a moment when I've got a lot to do in a short amount of time, and I don't have a lot of time, and in the back of my mind I begin to wonder, okay, are they wasting my time? Am I going to give them a valuable half hour of my time, and then just going to, oh, wow, yeah, what the hell with it. I read an article in Flex magazine that's better than that.
Yeah. And that's probably maybe some of the reason why you created your newsletter.
And that's a big part of it. I created my the website and newsletter. Also the assistance of my awesome girlfriend, Desiree, that helped me put everything together. I just figure having that type of platform, people were more than welcome to come and retrieve that information and make use of it if they want it, if they're serious about it. But not if they want to, if they want to do whatever Muscle Mag told them to do in the latest article, well, they're free to do that too.
Yeah. I got my issue this morning in my inbox.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, you put a lot of time into your writing too, and you can definitely tell that you're very knowledgeable and the time in your writing.
And it's something that a beginner can understand, someone advanced can understand. It's something that can help everyone, I think.
And you do offer a lot of free advice, which I find also a breath of fresh air too. And so many other people are charging money for information or websites. Why do you do it for free?
It's I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody paying you for a service. In the same token, I think some people get maybe a little too greedy. If somebody asks them, well, what do you eat for breakfast? Well, give me $100 and I'll tell you. That's pretty pompous. I guess it all depends on what you're about. Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting paid for a service, but on the same token, if in your heart you truly want to help people, you can kind of recognize certain people that are maybe in tough situations, they're down on their luck, they want to do something better for themselves. I come across people like that I understand their circumstances and they can't afford a trainer, a nutritionist, and people like that, I feel a little bit better about giving them a little bit more.
Well, it just goes to show you how passionate you are about your fitness and what you do and helping others. So I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah. It's it's all about, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, why am I here? What legacy do I want to leave behind? Do I just want to be somebody that manipulated my circumstances to get a lot of money, and then when my life's over, my legacy is, let's see, he was expensive. He's expensive, or when it's all said and done, do you want people to remember you as he's a really good person? He was extraordinary because he went above and beyond what most people do to change lives, make the world a better place. I guess it all depends on what what an individual's priorities are.
Yeah, and I think that's with the last part you said, changing lives. I think that's, you know, my ultimate goal with this, committed to greatness, is to help change people's lives. You know, that not even you know, physically with fitness, but also mentally, because as we know, the mind and it's got a big a part of you know, fitness, and keep going, because some people, when they get into fitness, it's like a week, or you know, at the beginning of the year thing, it's like a month or two, and then they give up. Then I
Yes.
understand that you have to have the mental motivation. And you know, I wanted to ask you, how important is you know, mind over matter, having your mind focused on your goals?
Yeah, and that's you know, it's definitely the most powerful tool you have. Where your mind goes, your body will follow inevitably. You know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, what it comes down to is, you know, like, I mean, everyone was dealt a different hand in life. Some people have more struggles, more challenges than others, and at the end of the day, it's all about how much struggling are you willing to bear, how much discomfort are you willing to put yourself through, and what sacrifices are you willing to make? How bad do you want it? You know, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. And you know, for me, you know, what I stood to gain was so incredibly important to me. It was well worth it. It was worth the struggles, the effort, uh, the pain. It was all worth it, and it still is. You know, it's not like you know, the health conditions resolved and now normal. It's not that way at all. Throughout the years, you know, there were a lot of other issues, orthopedic issues, as born with severe spinal scoliosis. One leg was 4 inches longer than the other leg. When I was in 6th grade, they had to go in and drill a hole through my left knee and crush the growth plate so that my right leg could eventually catch up. And my right leg, I was born without an ACL in that knee, and that caused that knee to dislocate all the time. When it dislocated, the cartilage just ripped up. Then I'd have to go in and have surgery, have more cartilage taken out, more and more cartilage taken out. So now it's, you know, going through all that. Orthopedic specialist told me that, you know, forget about ever becoming a bodybuilder, lifting weights, or even becoming an athlete. It's not realistic. Physically, you can't do those things. So, you know, just focus on your education, read books. You know, that's what you put your energy into, because your body isn't going to do what you want it to do.
Isn't it terrible when doctors do that? I was in a car accident and had to get my left knee scraped out. The dashboard came in and my seat came off the car. My left knee caught it. So they went in, you know, fixed it up and everything, and going through court, you know, because the guy hit me head on. They were saying, you know, she's damaged for life. She'll never be able to do this. She'll never be able to do that. You know, how discouraging is that to me? You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah, it's.
Thanks for your support.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
I think,
It's quite a blow.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on the person, because if you're a strong enough individual like yourself and you, Shelly, you're gonna push harder, and you're gonna kind of do it just because somebody told you not to do it.
Right.
You know,
Like,
That sounds like me.
I'm here. I'm gonna enjoy it.
so it really depends on the person. I think it can give you a push, but I do think it's a horrible thing for any doctor to be so discouraging and tell somebody that they can't.
Right.
I think sometimes it's a matter that they don't want you to get your hopes up, and I kind of understand that a little bit, but to tell somebody that they can't is just awful.
Yeah.
If a person's a depressed person to begin with, well, that's going to probably send them in a downward spiral.
Right.
So good for you guys to be strong. mentally, because not just physically. You have to be strong mentally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
like they all
will base their prognosis on charts and graphs based on statistics, and,
Right.
and you know, they don't have any charts or graphs to measure your determination, your
Right.
level of faith. You know.
Yeah, it comes down to a lot of faith.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you know they do that, but that's where people have to understand that just because they're told that doesn't mean that that's what their sentence is.
Right.
They have to serve.
yeah.
Somebody told me the other day, how
Circumstances.
did she say? You only know your own experience. So to somebody else hearing your story or somebody else's story, you know, they think, oh my gosh, how horrible, but that's your experience, and that's just what it is. It's just your experience.
Right.
So you can't chart that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, doctors always have something to say. I know that experience too. When I was 17, they told me I was going to lose a kidney, and when I heard the doctor say that, tell my sister and my mom that, I respond like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get well, and I'm going to get well now." I said, "I don't believe that. You know, I'm real stubborn when it comes to people telling me what to do, especially when it comes to my body. So I'm like, all right, you know, I'll listen, but if it's something like negative, I'm like, oh yeah." And now I understood that at 17, like, okay, you know, I can really, you know, change just by the way I think, you know. And I really didn't know it, but I was like, oh, it worked for a lot of other people out there I've seen. So, you know, maybe it worked for me, and it did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a scary thing to be told when you're 17.
Gosh, yeah.
You know, it's just at that, you know, you're developing at that age. It's a tough age anyway. You have a lot of insecurities and whatnot, and you're trying to figure out who you are, and then all of a sudden you have a doctor drop a bombshell on you.
Yeah.
And look at you, though, on your first body.
You're going to lose a kidney.
Yeah. And it's almost like you can never know, you know, everything about your body, but at the same time, it's like when somebody tell you that at that age, it's like, okay, I'm finna figure out, you know, how to get myself back right. That's what I said in my mind, like, oh, that's not happening. Ain't nobody cutting on me. I'm not finna lose it. And it was like, hey, just calm down, just calm down. I was like, oh, I'm calm. That's not finna happen. I'm finna get well. So I kind of willed myself, prayed, meditated. I was doing everything I did at that age to you know.
Sure. And somebody else
better my health.
Circumstances who didn't have the mindset that you do may have very well lost their kidney. You know, it's, you know, the power of the mind is amazing.
Yeah. And, man, I didn't know it at the time, but what I was doing. But now I understand, you know, how powerful, you know, just your mental stability is. Because I could have went, you know, crazy, depressed, but I was like, you know, I'm gonna get through this, and you know, I did. So it's definitely an enlightening spirits now at my age now to look back on that and say, you know, I knew something that, you know, it's definitely it's last you a lifetime. I believe just knowing that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I wanted to another question.
You're having me on your
I wanted
shoulder.
to ask you now. I gotta. Yeah. I'm in my gym now, and I usually come in with like different. I got a Superman shirt. I got a Captain America shirt.
Awesome.
I got a Wolverine shirt. Yeah, superhero. So if you could be a superhero, pick any superhero, who would you want to be?
Oh boy.
I know it's kind of random.
I'd probably have to say the Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer, okay.
Oh, he's got it all. He has superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman endurance. He can travel through time. He can manipulate the energy of the universe. He can draw from the energy of the universe. He can do it all.
I know exactly who.
He can work miracles.
I used to call my.
He can cure him.
Okay.
He's got it all.
Okay. I'll give you that one. He's pretty smooth. Silver Surfer. I wasn't expecting that one, but I'm like, yeah, he's pretty smooth. He do got a lot of powers.
I think Chad's his own superhero.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And speaking of superheroes, Chad actually has started his own clothing line, which is kind of what made me think of that. Look at the little superhero.
Wow.
It's very small at this point, but clothing line.
Well, you know, you
nice.
got to have a start. I'll let you take a peek at that shirt a little bit better.
Yeah, I see it.
That's awesome.
Isn't that
There
cool?
it is.
I love it.
And he does women's and men's shirts right now.
Yay.
Very cool.
Wow.
Kind of like to kind of know where you would like to go in 5 years from now. You got clothing, you're working on your fitness. Where do you see yourself?
It's a tough question, and it's tough because so many things happen so quickly that I don't see coming.
Yeah.
For example, 5 weeks ago, I didn't see myself on an operating table.
Right?
I woke up one day, you know, with bad stomach pain, and within hours, I was in the emergency room, and I didn't anticipate an emergency surgery.
On your agenda
like
for the day?
5 years from now, God only knows.
You're a fighter. You're gonna keep going.
It's you know, I'm not going to say exactly where I think I'll be, but I mean I will say that I'm going to keep pushing forward, doing what I'm doing, teaching people the value of of doing things the right way, to build muscle, lose fat, keep themselves healthy, overcome injuries, overcome obstacles, do better for themselves, increase the value of their lives. And there's any number of formats that I'd be willing to take that to hit that message home to people. So I mean, whether it's just on the website or whether it happens to be on more like talk shows like this, or potentially TV, or so be it.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing that message and see where it goes. So
That's great.
I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
When CJ approached me, he said, what kind of things do you see? And I said, I don't want to talk to people that just say, I want to be the best. I want to be the biggest. I want to do the best. I want to lift more. That's boring. I want to talk to people, that have been through it, that have worked, and that want to help others.
Yes. And you feed off of the, energy of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's positive energy, and when you surround yourself by people like that and deal with people like that, you absorb some of their energy.
Yep.
Kind of like the Silver Surfer, you absorb.
Yeah. Do that. I forget. Man. Yeah, definitely positive energy is so important. And even me meeting Mike Tyson here in Las Vegas, that's the conversations that we had was mostly about being positive. He seen I was a very positive guy, never really was down, but I told him I get down a lot, but it just never seemed like that when he was around me. So he's like, oh man, you always positive, you always speaking, loudly. So he's like, and all the stuff he went through, it's just like he needed someone to talk to. And I was there, for him to talk to and just give him like a positive boost. But he was really positive effect on me. And, other people I meet, it's the same thing. Oh, you're so positive. And it's just the fact that just even though you might be going through whatever, it's just staying positive. I always tell people, stay positive.
That's awesome. I give you a lot of credit. That's a conversation I might be a little nervous to pursue. If my place was right next to me, I'd probably be like, please don't hit me.
Yeah. I had a couple people say, hey, he didn't do anything to you. Like, nah, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. He just, cool guy. Just like don't mess with him. Don't you know, don't say nothing out of the way to him. He's still a professional boxer, and I know he still got that reflex, ability to hit somebody. But he's definitely a down to earth guy, and just being positive is definitely. I try to live my life by that, and then if I run into other people, I try to stay away from the negative people. But it seems to always be around. But if you just stay positive, I'll tell people.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Whatever the situation is, and putting in work, as we are. I'm like a busybody over here. I'm always doing something. I'm never really sit down. If I'm sitting down, I'm reading. I'm sitting down, I'm doing something, and I just see that with you. You're like, you just keep going. There's other people like in their early 20s or early 30s that's not active, that thinking that it's it. I can't do nothing because life situations, and it's like you meet a person like you, it's just like, oh man, I could do it. I could do it. I could push even further.
So then, Chad, tell us how you've overcome so many health conditions and what you can say to other people that are maybe going through something similar or having an experience where they feel down on themselves.
Yeah.
Well, going back to what I said before, at the end of the day, it boils down to what do you have to gain by overcoming these issues? And for me, I had really, at a young age, when I was 3-4 years old, I had high hopes for myself. I just deep down, I believed that I was there for a reason, and there's something important I needed to do. It wasn't my time to check out. I wasn't exactly sure what I was supposed to do, but I knew that I was supposed to keep going, and I knew I had to fight tooth and nail and go through whatever I had to get there. It's the best advice I could give anybody who's struggling like that is, well, what can you do to empower yourself? Or what can you do to improve your circumstances, no matter how bad they are? Just hypothetically speaking, let's say somebody is, 2 broken legs, or maybe God forbid, they end up a paraplegic, and they can't use their legs anymore, or something like that. What they have to do is, remind themselves what they do have, and focus on that. And in that particular circumstance, somebody could say, okay, my arms work, my shoulders work, my chest works, the vast majority of my back muscles work. I can do this, I can do that. There's all these different exercises I could do, to stimulate my body. And exercise in general is good for healing and recovery. When you're able to make one part of your body work, it's going to help other parts of your body. And you're not even going to know that it's going to happen until it happens.
Yes.
So there's a lot of people with, autoimmune disorders and inflammatory diseases and injuries and stuff like that, that keeps them from exercising. And the best advice I'd tell them is do something, find something that you can do. And, and not to the point where they're going to aggravate their condition and make it worse or cause themselves more pain, but find something they can do that isn't too painful and just keep doing it. And I think inevitably, if they stick to it, if they're persistent and they keep doing it, eventually they'll find that they can do a little bit more and a little bit more. And after, several months, maybe even years, in more extreme cases, they'll find that what they couldn't do, 6 months, a year ago, they can do now. And I guess that's the most important thing, is focus on why you want to overcome these things, what you stand to gain by it in your life, and just do whatever you can, because everybody can find something to do. There's a lot of great examples of that throughout history. Helen Keller, it's, your stories like that, and it's like, okay, what's my excuse? Why should I sit here and feel sorry for myself?
Yeah.
But, so another question, did you ever think, like your physique, I wanted to, just comment on that. I seen your pictures and I'm like, okay, that's something that I'm striving to do currently. So did you know that you were going to build your physique to look like that, the finished product? Did you envision that you were going to be?
Yeah, actually I did. I actually fell short on my goal because I remember I was in the hospital, one of the bad bouts of asthma attacks or whatever. I was 6 years old in the ICU, and my parents bought me some Masters of the Universe action figures. So I think they got me a Stratus and a Merman.
Wow.
So they brought them up to me in the hospital, and I was looking at them, I was used to seeing action figures that look like Luke Skywalker or G.I. Joe, and I was like, oh, guys, and right then I was like, well, I look like that? That's so cool. So at that point, I decided that's how I wanted to look. So I'm not quite there, but I might be like 1/3 the way there.
Yeah, I'm like the biggest Bruce Lee fan in the world, and I was like 18, 17, and I seen a poster in one of my friends' brother's houses, and I seen this big old picture of Bruce Lee, and I'm like, man, I wonder how long it took him to get them abs like that.
Yeah.
and then I'm looking at him. I didn't know he was a little guy, but it's just the poster make him look larger than life,
Right.
And I was like, man, like, who got abs like that? And,
Right.
He wasn't a big guy, As I got older, I found out he wasn't that big, but his body was so hard and so toned, and, I was like, man, a little Chinese guy able to do that. I know I could do it.
Yeah. It's definitely inspirational, and yet it kind of makes you question yourself at the same time when you're young and impressionable, because you see something like that, and then you get out of the shower and you look in the mirror and you're trying to look for that in yourself, and you're back. You're like, it doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah. And it's like you can only be the best you can be, though. I know that, but it's like, man. Then I see when people watch TV, I want to look like this person. I want to be like them. I want to be like them. But now I realize, like, hey, you can't be like them, but you can be the best you can be.
Right.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Yep. Stop
Absolutely.
trying to compare yourself to other people and just do it for yourself.
Yeah.
So.
I remember
that's all a part of being human, though.
Yep.
Our society, because we worship like, a lot of people that's very famous and that has nice bodies, and then everybody, I want to be like that. It's like, you say you look in the mirror, then you're like, hey, I'm nothing like that, or that's what makes you strive and just keep pushing.
Absolutely. That's an important point. It's like so many people always compare themselves to other people, and the only person you can accurately compare yourself to is you. I remember when I was in high school, I had it in my mind I was going to be 230 pounds shredded. I can make that happen. Yeah, I can make that happen. And then I got up to 230 pounds eventually, but I definitely was not shredded. So I got down to, 220. Nope, not there yet. 210. Nope, still not there. 200. Nope. 190. Nope. So it's like, you got to kind of come to terms with genetically what you have, what your genetic limitations are. Although you want to maximize that with everything you can, and there's always room for improvement, but at the same time, you got to be realistic. you know, I see these young guys that are 18, 19 years old, and you know,
Oh
they're
man.
like Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, and I'm gonna look like that. I'm gonna look like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
oh boy, yeah, you
Good
know,
luck.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it out all the time out here in Vegas. I run into these young guys in the gym here where I train at, and they talk about the bodybuilders because, you know, it's so popular out here in Vegas. Oh, you know, I want to look like that. And but they don't know how much work, how much nutrition, and how much other stuff they have to do to look like that, and years of training. You know, even to look like how we look is years of training. So
Right.
actually bodybuilders, you know, professional bodybuilders is like understanding that it's going to take years of that.
yes, yes, and I know this is kind of a touchy subject, and I'm going to throw it out there anyway. But one big issue I have with certain like bodybuilding publications, that you know, you have guys that are chemically enhanced
Mm-hmm.
who are having workouts published that high school kids are reading, and oh, I can do this workout. I can work out 2 hours a day, and I'll get those kind of results. And I fell into that trap when I was young. You know, I read Flex magazine and Muscle Mag and a bunch of these other magazines, and you know, I'd see workouts that the pros are doing and stuff, and I tried them, and you know, I was greatly disappointed. I,
In real life,
Reality
that
hit.
doesn't happen.
you know, I usually make a max of
Reality.
3,000, and I didn't gain the 60 pounds of muscle in 3 months like they promised. You know, it's just, but it's you know, it's one thing I try to remind young people is that, I mean, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not here to wave fire and brimstone and judge anybody for using enhancements, but young people need to understand that there's a level of bodybuilder, you know, IFBB pro bodybuilders. Well, I mean, let's face it, chemical enhancements are reality, and
Yes, yes.
there's a whole different set of protocols that people training naturally need to follow in order to build their bodies versus people that are using enhancements. So that, you know, that's one thing I try to you know, make perfectly clear, especially to young people that are trying these extreme workouts, and I'm letting them know, hey, you can fall in, you know, you can fall into the realm of overtraining very easily, and that overtraining can damage your health and cause injuries and that type of thing. You know, to make them aware of it. But you know,
Yeah,
it's
I was guilty once of trying to, like, I read and I read so many muscle and fitness and all the publications, and I used to train 3 hours, 4 hours a day, not
yeah,
knowing that, you know,
it was there
like you said,
before.
overtraining, not eating enough, I wasn't sleeping enough. You know, I was just around chasing girls and doing the young stuff that I was always doing. But, you know, once I understood, okay, rest, you know, eat right, drink enough water, and don't drink alcohol, that's what I found out. I found out 3 months without drinking alcohol, definitely I got gains. And I was like, wow, my body changed just without drinking. What's going on? So,
I think a lot of young athletes are obviously unexperienced, so they don't have that knowledge, and they read all these publications. Unfortunately, not everything we read is true or should be taken so seriously. And I was a person that overused, or was a person that actually had a lot of overuse injuries myself, just as a young athlete, just because I wanted to do more. And part of that is kind of maybe some of my addictive personality to exercise. It makes me feel good. But we still need to learn that there's a healthy balance in exercise and fitness in order to recover and grow. And if we're not resting and recovering, we're going to suffer a lot of injuries, insomnia, sleep disorders, all kinds of things, even probably diet problems. And so we just need to find a healthy balance in order to reach those goals, and make sure you get some rest so your body will grow and recover. Thank you for it. So.
Absolutely. You know, and people need to keep in mind that an individual's ability to recover, that's a genetically mediated trait. similar to hair color, eye color, bone structure, and that that's why a lot of times you see two people following the exact same workout, and one individual's making gains by leaps and bounds, while the other individual's progress remains stagnant, and they're not gaining anything. It just everyone needs to figure out what works for themselves and exactly how much recovery time they require versus their workout partner or somebody else that they're comparing themselves to.
You'd be surprised how many people I get, like from my military friends, that, oh, what are you doing? I see your arms, I see your chest, all this, stomach. What you doing? I'm like, well, I'm doing this, but don't mean it's gonna work for you. Well, you can try it. I tell you can try it, but once you've done so many years of training consistently, then you get into like how the bodybuilders train, hours sometime of training, because you actually are doing everything it takes to train for that length of time. But regular people don't eat right, maybe don't get enough sleep, drink. They can't train like that. I would try to tell my friends, like, oh, I used to do this, I used to do that. I'm like, but nothing really matter but now. Nothing really matter but now.
Right.
Yeah. Like I tell them, past is the past. Future is never here. It's always what's going on now. So
absolutely. That's a good point.
When it comes to train, I'm just like, hey, what can you do now? So, I could do this, or I used to could do this. So I'm like, well, I don't want you to do the workout I'm doing. Like you say, you want to get hurt. Various things can happen. So just letting them know, try to educate people on that.
Well, and you don't have to spend hours in the gym to get an effective workout, which I think a lot of people take that into the wrong context, because some people will come in here and say, I don't have time to work out that long, where other people are going to be in here wasting time working out for 2 hours, talking in between sets, playing on their phones, doing whatever except working out, where you could get in here 30 minutes and have a great workout.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what people need to understand is that there's a very inverse ratio between the intensity level that they train at and the amount of time, the duration that exercise can be carried out, and also the frequency that exercise is performed. The more intense that training is, the greater it's going to deplete the biochemical reserves of the body that allow the body to recover and grow. And therefore, the shorter the time frame has to be, and the less frequent that exercise has to be in order to keep up, in order to compensate for those stressful demands on the body. I've had some of my best workouts, I've knocked them out in 20 minutes. Yeah. It's not about, some people get confused intensity with duration. They think if they're in here for 3 hours, they had a great workout. But, they never push themselves hard enough or train intensely enough to threaten the physiology of the body and make it create an adaptive response to grow more muscle. Then the workout, it won't be, productive. It won't be progressive.
When you train, do you have kind of a rule for recovery? Like I'll train this, every 3 days, every 4 days kind of thing?
Yes. And there's a point in time where I trained each muscle group twice a week, and my workouts lasted 3 to 4 hours. And I developed severe tendinitis in my wrists, my elbows, my shoulders, and my body became so inflamed and I hurt so bad I couldn't hardly put on a t-shirt. And I got to the point where, either I have to quit altogether or I got to change something. And then it was then that I began to learn more, dig deeper, and learn more about recovery, just how much time it took to recover.
Yeah.
I cut my training back to hitting each muscle group just once a week. And at that point, I made, once my pain started going away, I started making gains by leaps and bounds, and I kept gaining for probably the next 2 years. Then I hit a wall again, and the reason that happened is because my training was progressive and I kept gaining, I reached a new level of strength, and that new level of strength allowed me to stress the muscles that much harder, lift heavier weights, train more intensely, and that increase of stress depleted the biochemical reserves of my body that much more. So then I knew, okay, now I need to take a little bit more time between each workout to compensate for that increase of stress. So then I started adding in two more rest days between every single workout from that point forward. And then then all of a sudden I started making gains again. I was lifting heavier and so on and so forth, and increased to the point where now, and this has been a very gradual progression. From I started, doing this when I was 25 years old. Just training each muscle group once a week, and it progressed now to the point where I'm 40, where I hit each muscle group hard about once every 3 weeks.
Wow.
Wow.
I think people are probably pretty amazed by that, that you're only training your muscles that little. But you really obviously have made some great gains in what you do. So
thank you.
So sometimes less is more.
Yeah, and local people here, I think you work out and spend hours in the gym as well. And I always tell them, no, actually, he doesn't. He only works his muscle groups like once every, a couple weeks, because I remember you telling me that, and I was always amazed by that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, you give your body enough rest and it's going to come back stronger. You think about taking a week vacation from exercise and you come back, aren't you usually stronger? I'm usually stronger. Time, that recovery time has made my body bounce back that much better.
I just learned something.
It's very tough for people to wrap their mind around. I mean, it's the polar opposite of what the majority of what's being preached in the mainstream of bodybuilding and fitness. But again, it's not something where I tell a beginner, hey, look, you should only train each muscle group once every 3 weeks, because it's
when you're starting out, that may not work.
Reach an intensity level high enough to require that much recovery time. But one more thing that people need to be conscious of is muscles get overlapped. People think, oh, I only train my arms, my biceps once a week. No, you don't. You have a back workout in there, so actually your biceps are being stressed significantly, doing pulling and rowing movements. And I only train my triceps once a week. I'm not training them enough. Well, you engage your triceps significantly doing pushing movements for chest and for shoulders if they do military presses or shoulder presses. It just, people, sometimes forget that muscles get overlapped. I mean, there's times that my biceps have been more sore from back workouts than they have from bicep workouts.
Well, again, I think that's like the inexperienced lifter, because we think about each 9 major muscle groups. So we think we have to do the biceps, the triceps, the quads, the hamstrings. And as you just said, that's really not the case, because you got lots of exercises that you got secondary muscle groups engaging when you're working out. So that's why it's nice to train big muscle groups like your deadlifts and your squats, because you're really targeting a lot of muscles in a short period of time. So if you only had one exercise, it would probably be one of those exercises that you would focus on, in my opinion. But,
yeah. I mean, deadlifts, for example. I compete in powerlifting meets and compete in deadlift, doing deadlifts, and I mean, it works every muscle from your Achilles tendon all the way up to the nape of your neck.
Yep.
I mean, everything comes into that movement when you're doing really heavy. And to your point, if there's one exercise I could do, it would be that. Because my last powerlifting meet, even my pecs were sore. I was like, how did that happen? There's more went into that than I thought.
Yep, I have many new clients that come in, and you put them on a squat rack, and they're always like, "Oh my gosh, my shoulders hurt." They feel their upper body more than their legs in the beginning, just because they're not used to having everything stretched out and balancing that weight of that bar on their back. But that's why it's such a great exercise.
Yeah.
I did something new last week. It was for legs, and I woke up the next morning, my hamstrings were sore and my lats, and I was like, what? That doesn't even go together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. Our body will trick us at times.
Yeah.
So you've done some bodybuilding shows in the past, and Chad actually won his first contest at the age of 16, believe it or not, despite all his odds that he's gone through. But recently, kind of geared more towards powerlifting. How do you feel between the two, and what are your thoughts, bodybuilding versus powerlifting?
I have nothing against bodybuilding competition. I've done a few of them, and there's things I liked about it. There's things I didn't like about it, and the things I didn't like about it were, how subjective it was, and it just seemed like the judging was very inconsistent. I found myself getting very frustrated with it to the point where it became it just became too difficult for me mentally to handle doing. I love bodybuilding, and I love the look of a bodybuilder, and I was attracted to powerlifting just because, from the time I was a young kid, I was always impressed with the ability to, pick up big weights, and move, be able to, big things. But I always kind of wanted to test the waters in that realm, and from a competition standpoint, it's pretty black and white. It's not subjective that you pick it up or you don't. And if you do, nobody can say that you didn't and take your trophy away. Yeah. If they do, it look really bad. But so I guess that's why I became more attracted to powerlifting. But on the same token, I don't want to look like your average powerlifter.
Right.
Even though it's been 7 years since I did my last bodybuilding competition, I kept my body conditioned that way just because that's the look that I want for myself. But from a competitive standpoint, I enjoy powerlifting more.
Okay.
Well, you do a great job. And what did you come in first place last contest?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I'm not going to get on a high horse and brag because I'm not.
Hey, go ahead.
There's guys out there my weight that could smoke me in powerlifting, so I'm not going to say that I'm great or anything, but I've done well enough I have 3 state records under my belt for Wisconsin. I mean, for me, under my circumstances in my little corner of the world, I did okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you won't brag, we'll brag for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. We can do that. That's definitely man, that's an accomplishment, I can say. It's definitely an accomplishment. But I wanted to ask you about, you say you just went through surgery. This is recently that you had an obstacle that you overcame. You haven't been training back in the gym yet.
I did resume some training. I'm relatively light. I have to be very careful not to engage my abdominal muscles too much, considering, the surgery involved cutting through the abdominal muscles to get to my intestines. So it's got to be, it's a gradual process. It's improving, but it's very gradual. But the way that all started, it was just over 5 weeks ago. I just got up and got ready for work like any other day. Got to work, and my abdomen started hurting really bad. The pain just got worse as the morning went on, and finally it got so bad I couldn't. I had to leave work. And my father lived just a few minutes away from my work. I knew that I wouldn't be able to drive back home because I was in too much pain. So I drove over to my father's, and I took some over-the-counter stomach medication, hoping that would kind of resolve the pain. It didn't. It just kept getting worse to the point where I couldn't walk. And finally, my father called an ambulance, and they came and got me and rushed me into the emergency room in the hospital. And they gave me some a drug called Dilaudid. It's just like morphine, basically morphine, to help relieve the pain, and had me drink some barium. And I went and got a CAT scan done. And the CAT scan revealed that my intestine, where my small intestine, not my large intestine, it had twisted, and that caused my large intestine to be completely obstructed. Nothing was getting through, and the doctor told me that this is really serious, and if we don't do something to fix this, it could become a life-threatening situation. So we need to do emergency surgery, and we need to go in and remove that section of your intestine. So that's what they did. I was in the hospital for 1 week, and it wasn't fun, very uncomfortable. After your intestines have been cut into and sewed back together, nothing feels good going in them. You're just sick. Even clear liquids I couldn't handle first few days, and it was at least almost 2 weeks before I could even handle soft food. Even solid food my body would reject it, and I'm still having trouble with it. My body just is having a hard time learning how to digest food again with 13 inches of intestine missing. So I've lost some weight, but I'm slowly gaining the weight back that I lost. But the doctor forewarned me it would be a long process, and I had to kind of take it easy and not overdo it. Or since my abdomen was cut through, I was at risk for a abdominal hernia. So I have to kind of be careful. Oh no. Oh, not fun.
No.
Well, that just it lets you know, we see where you're at right now, in the gym. So making a recovery, and that's definitely what it's about. Pushing on, committing yourself to keep it going. And,
just got to get back in the game. I mean, it just got to forget about the ego and take a look at what your ultimate goals are, and just stay focused on what you need to do to get there again. It's tough.
Yeah.
Mentally it's tough, physically it's tough, but it pays off.
Definitely. So I wanted to ask you, is it anything that you want to let the folks know out there, as far as your website or stuff, the articles that you write, then to follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's if people visit my website, if they visit chadshaw.net, they type that in and click on the link for the website, it's going to bring them to the front page where they can sign up for my newsletter. And it's a free newsletter. It doesn't cost anything. All they have to do is enter their name, their email address, which is kept private, and they'll get my newsletter every week. And I offer, tips on training and nutrition, and I do a Q&A in there where people email me, ask me questions, and I'll randomly select people's questions and answer them in the newsletter. And, I definitely invite anybody out there to go ahead and get on there and sign up for my newsletter if they're interested. So,
Okay. And I'll see you on bodybuilding, body space.
On the website.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap up the show here. Shelly, you over there? You got anything that you want to end with today?
No, I just thank you so much for coming on. We're honored to have been able to talk to you. Oh,
yeah, it was truly an honor. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun talking with you and CJ both. And, it's refreshing to see this type of radio show. Usually I hear plenty of radio shows about stupid stuff that 90% of the population doesn't care about. So I think this is a topic that a lot of people have interest in, whether they're willing to admit it or not. So, I hope this, really takes off, and I think it will. And I'd like to be back on the show at some point.
Yay!
Definitely.
Yeah, it was an honor to be on here and talk with you guys.
Yeah, I just want to thank you too for coming on the show. So. And
absolutely, I want to thank Kim. If it wasn't for Kim, I wouldn't be on here. And Kim's always been a great supporter of mine, and she's definitely the most accomplished trainers I've seen, in the area. I know she does the Madison's Biggest Loser and helps a lot of people achieve their goals, losing weight, building muscle, that type of thing. So definitely have to give her the props she deserves.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. So, but you took a lot of time to come out here tonight, so really, that was really appreciated. So,
yes.
And a lot of people love to hear from you. So.
Yes. Oh, and another thing I wanted to, obviously invite you back on the show anytime, you want to promote something or, just come on and give some people advice. We all been talking about the show and, how far we want to take the show and, get different people on. And if you know anybody, that it's inspiration to you or, that trains and can come on and enlighten us about health and fitness. I'm always open book, interested in learning different things. Always open. I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've got a list of people on my website. People featured inspirational people that I look at and I'm like, wow, and they inspire, motivate me, considering what they've done with their circumstances. So I can definitely refer some of those people to you. That they're impressed and they inspire me. I know they're going to inspire other people.
Yeah. So it's definitely what we're looking for here on Committed to Greatness. So it's basically what it says, committed to greatness, committed to sticking it out and, inspiring others, inspiring people close, afar. I'm out here in Las Vegas. And Shelly, she's in Cincinnati, and you guys are in Wisconsin. So just reaching people all over the world, through video. Mm-hmm. Actually, we were able to see, I had a vision of seeing the people, actually in the atmosphere right here, this gym. See people back there actively training. So, I'm actively out here doing this.
Sure.
So you guys there in the gym. So it's definitely refreshing to see this, to see people.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, Kim, you got anything you want to wrap up show today?
No, I just want to, again, say this was a great show, and I really love the fact that we're having some positive people like Chad come on the show, and definitely welcome other people that have had experiences that they've gone through that are inspiring to others to come on the show. So, love to hear from you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm about to move out of these people way behind me because they're going to start a boot camp class. It's going to be real, real loud in here. It fills up in the afternoon. Here, I know it's probably like a little late over there. It's about to be 5:15 here. So finna start here in about 15 minutes. But anybody out there that's watching, we have a Facebook page now, and it's Committed to Greatness on Facebook. So you can like us, follow us on there. You can go to my page, Mr. Fitbiz, follow me on there. I have a website, improveyoufitness.com. Shelly, you have you have groups that you attain over there, right?
Yeah, I've got a few Facebook groups going, and then my body space going.
Okay. As well as Kim, she's everywhere.
Right.
A little bit.
Just Google her. I Google your name, and then all this stuff came up. And I'm like, wow.
And she probably did.
So I'm like, yeah. Like interviews and all this stuff just popped up with you. But, you know, you can look us up, and we're interested in designs for our website and our logo for Committed to Greatness. But that is this week's show. And next week, same time, same place.
All right.
CJ, yep. Mr. Fitbiz Wiggins from Las Vegas. See you.
Have a great night.
Yeah, have a great night.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thanks.